Yeah, good evening. Hello to everybody. Directly from Brazil, talking to Canada, Calgary, with Coach Alex. How are
Hello,
you, Alex?
I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Are you listening me well? The sound is good. Are you
Sounds
seeing
good.
me?
Mm-hmm. Thumbs
Yeah,
up. We're good.
yeah, great. All right, let's start from the beginning. When did you hear about rowing the first time? Why did you start rowing, or did you start as a coach directly?
So I started as an athlete. I was about 15 years old when I started. I had done many, sports before I started rowing. I was a competitive swimmer. I played volleyball, and it wasn't until I had, kind of fallen out of love with those sports and wanted to try something new, that my uncle, who was a rower, he said, why don't you give this a try? You might like it. And that was it. And I've been hooked. So I've been rowing, since I was 15, but I've been a coach now for 9 years. So it's almost 10 years of coaching here. I'm in my ninth season as a coach.
That's a lot of time.
Mhm.
You're pretty young still yet.
I am, yeah. I started coaching just when I finished rowing in university. So I was probably about maybe 22, 23. And so now you can do the math and guess my age. But no, I started because there was just some need for some coaching with our provincial team. So
Yeah.
a mentor of mine who at the time was the current provincial coach, he and another mentor of mine, who was the president of our provincial association, they suggested I start coaching just one day a week just to try. And since then, I've now, gone up to running a program. So it's been, a wonderful journey. And yeah, it started quite soon after I finished my competitive career as an athlete.
Mhm. And I forgot to ask you when the first time we talked before going live here, of course. Canada is a very traditional, no, rowing is a very traditional sport in Canada, is it?
Yes, I mean, we've had lots of Canadian rowers, and part of it, I think, is our touches and our connections with England, Britain. We're still part of the Commonwealth. And so very early on, in the 1800s, rowing came to Canada. And there's, lots of clubs that are in Canada that are over 100 years old. And
Mm.
have been, part of the sport landscape in Canada. So no, we've got a great and wonderful history of rowing in Canada.
You said there are lots of clubs that are more than 100 years old.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. In Toronto, I think it's Hanlon Boat Club or Argonaut. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but it's I'm pretty sure over 100. And the Winnipeg Rowing Club, actually, as well. I know they're having, I think, a big anniversary this year. So
Mm.
no, it's a lots of history for sure.
Yes. And that's great. Winnipeg is there is a very good place to row. Is that right?
Well, Winnipeg, yeah. I mean, there's the one wonderful thing about Canada is we have lots of rivers and lots of lakes. So almost across our entire country, there's always a place to find a spot to row.
Mm. These conversations we have doing these chats and the histórias de remador in Portuguese, which is our name, our logo. It's the age of history, not history but stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I published your about our conversation, our chat, and there was a guy. I think he is from Canada. He has I suppose it's a French name, and we put the name of our chat, Rowing on Ice, and he sent to us a link about rowing on real ice on Canada.
Yes, there's been some creativity of getting picks on the oars and pushing yourself, not in a boat, on a sled, but you pick on the ice and you push away. So yes, there's been some creativity for sure.
But the video I saw it was a boat.
Oh,
sometimes they push it over the ice, and sometimes there's water.
Yes.
And there were oars, one oar for each one, and which my surprise was to watch that there was a coxswain.
So
over the ice, and they were inside water, pushing it and jumping in the boat and pushing it with one leg inside the boat and the other leg outside the boat. It was very, very interesting.
So that is a very specific race that is only in, if I think it's the one that you're talking about, it's in Quebec City, and it is over the the Fleuve Saint Laurent, or the St. Lawrence River, and that is the only place that happens, because not the whole river doesn't freeze, and so you can still go on it, and it's a very specific event for that city. That doesn't happen anywhere else in Canada. That's very specific for that city. So
actually, I saw the video. I think it was a lake, because it was a very large amount of water.
Oh no, it's big.
Sea. I don't know where
the river. It's the St. Lawrence River is not a small river. It is big. It is very big.
Yeah.
So it looks like
actually, I think that is good to watch. I don't suppose it's good to row there.
I've never done it, so I can't say. It's that would be too cold for me. I'd much prefer on the traditional rowing on a flat, calm lake or piece of water.
Let me ask to someone that is listening to us, how is the sound going to everyone? I say hi to Alexandre Sampaio. I think he's from Brazil, because sometimes your sound comes to me like it's cutting a little bit. I don't know if it's my connection here, or I think the problem is my connection here. I would like to know how people has receiving our signal. Yeah. Well, all right. Let's keep it going. When you start rowing in Canada, you have programs like junior, senior, and how does that work? We say here we have rowing school at the beginning for young people, and how does that go on Canada?
So similar. So we have what's called, junior rowing. So that is anyone under the age of 19. And then we have U23, which is 19 to 22. And then senior, which is 23 and older. And then we have masters rowing as well, which I think the age is actually 22, but anyways, 27, usually older. And then we also have school rowing. So in Canada, there's club systems, which, like a local club in a city. There's school rowing in some schools where it's part of their classes, and there's a team, like you would have, a basketball team, they have a rowing team. Then there's university or college rowing. So the schools for universities, they have their own teams. So we've got many different groups and clubs and programs in Canada, but we divide it in those age groups: 19 and younger, 23 and younger, and then senior.
That's very nice. I think you have a great connection from the clubs to the schools for young people. How does that work there?
Yes. So if let's say for our young kids, if they have a program in school, when school finishes in June, they can then go and row for their clubs in the summer. So July and August with our school year in Canada, the summer there's no school in July and August. So they transition from their school programs to then their club. And then in some cities, like where I live in Calgary, we don't have any school programs. So all of our junior rowers just row for the club.
Yeah. About Calgary, you have a big number of people practicing rowing at that season. The last season, I saw your video. There was kind of lots of people.
Yes, yes. So we have so I coach our junior program, and within our junior program, we have about 60 athletes that row all year round. So even though we can't row on water for about 6 months because of winter, we still train indoors on rowing machines. We do strength training. We do what we call cross training, which is any type of other training that isn't rowing. And then that's just the junior program. Our senior program has probably about the same, 60. And then I think our masters and rec and para programs, I think we have about 200 and some members in the Calgary Rowing Club. So it is a very big club. And we try to make sure we have programs for everyone.
And on Calgary, there is only one club, or there are more clubs?
Just one.
Just one, yeah. All right. The lake is very beautiful. I have seen pictures, and the video is very beautiful. I would like to row there once.
Well, you would be welcome to come. It is quite beautiful. Where we are in Calgary is very close to the Rocky Mountains, and you can see the mountains from the lake. So it's very beautiful. Yeah, in the summer, and the sun comes up, and it's very nice.
It looks like the Switzerland, that you have the mountains around with the snow.
Yeah, we're not that close to. We're still an hour by car to the mountains, so our lake isn't surrounded, but you can go and put a boat on some other lakes in the mountains, but not in the city. In the city, it's still an hour away to the mountains.
Well, let's start talking about the coaching, which is your. I think is your big story. We didn't talk it, but today I realized that your coach that taught you how to row, now he's teaching you how to coach. How does that goes?
Yeah, so my first coach, who he was my first coach. He taught me how to row. When so as I mentioned, I finished university. I came back to Calgary. I just started coaching a little bit, one day a week. He was still coaching, actually, the junior program, and he needed an assistant coach and needed some help. And so because I had started doing some other coaching, he said, why don't you come and, I need some help and would be great to have you. And I said, yes. And we started coaching together. So we coached together for about 5 years, and he just retired in 2019. So at the end of 2019, after 15 years as the head coach, he retired, and that's when I then took the program. So I spent 5 years working with him, learning a lot. So it was amazing to go from having a coach-athlete relationship to then a coach-coach relationship. And I still I learn from him. I still ask him questions because I think as coaches, we can't always think we have all the answers. We learn just like athletes do. So we need to also keep learning from, more experienced coaches or other coaches, which I think is really important. So I still, he was my coach and then my mentor.
Yeah, that's a real good thing to say, because everyone is different from everyone. You have each athlete is you have to you have the same program, but you have to watch everyone with different eyes. It's I would like to ask you something that what he used to say to you when you were an athlete. He kept saying to the others, and do you say the same things he did say to you, or is it quite different? It's like changing. How does that go?
No, I say the same things that he would say to us when I was his coach or his athlete. Rowing, it is, every coach will have their own eye. They will have their own terms. Each athlete is different, so you will give different points to different athletes for improvement. But I definitely did say same things that he would say, or the way he would explain a part of the stroke. Oh, I think I've lost you. But yes, I would say the same things that he would say in the same way. So I've picked that up for sure. Well, I think we have lost. Oh, you're back.
Hello.
Hello.
Alex?
Yes.
Are you there?
I am.
I lost my signal.
Oh, well, you're back. I see you now. I hear you now.
I lost my signal here. There was a message that I fall down. I'm sorry about that.
Well, good to have you back.
Yeah. You were talking about coaching, and everyone is different, and you have to have a different eye from everyone.
But I still say the same thing sometimes from other coaches, that you learn how to explain something or the terms they use. So
I think this is a very good thing to think about, because we have to keep improving. I started rowing in 1980 until 1986, and between that time we had contact with a head coach from West Germany, and the way we used to row was very different from West Germany. And I think now I see the technique now, it's very close to what they used to do on West Germany, but the blades are different now. We have square blades. At that time we had equal blades. It was very different. All the oars and used to be wooden, and the ships were wooden, from wood. And now it's a little bit different, but still almost the same. But you have to watch, and sometimes I ask to my coach. He is almost the same age from me, and he said now you have to have stronger back. You have to this part of the body, the belly from up. You have to improve it more than we used to. And one thing that I see that when you finish the stroke, you don't lie down as we used to. You keep your body a little bit more straight. You don't backwards. And did you see some difference just when you started from now, or it's almost the same?
Well, for me, it's I've only been involved in the sport for 15 years. The technique hasn't changed that much for me, but there's one thing that I know is there's technique and then there's style sometimes, and coaches sometimes will teach different styles. But if you think about it, rowing is just oar goes in, you push as hard as you can, and then it comes back, oar comes out, and you do it again and again. And you need to make sure that all of the force that you're using is helping you to move the boat. And then there's all the style things. There was actually, a Canadian coach who would coach a very, what we call layback. He would coach a very low, long layback. And that, again, sometimes was a style. Some coaches do the faster catch, a slower finish. So I would say for me, in my years of rowing, it hasn't been big changes, but little things do change. The equipment, though, has definitely, I know, changed over the years, from the wooden to all of the carbon fiber. And you're right, it does put a lot more force on people's backs, because now you are just applying huge watts, right? Like power. And so you need that strong core. So the middle section, strong backs, so that you don't get hurt. That's important. One, I really want to make sure, especially with the athletes I coach, because they're young, that they don't have injuries that will hurt them for the rest of their lives. That's very important for me as a coach, to make sure that we're keeping our athletes injury free as much as we can. So coaching good technique and being quite strong and building up those muscles.
Yeah, perfect. Back to the cold winter and the ice we have in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
This is my curiosity, our curiosity from Brazil. Since you have so cold winter and just like 6 months on water and 6 months you have to row on ice.
Mm-hmm.
And the winter program, what basically you have to do?
So yes, in Calgary, we definitely have only 6 months of rowing. But I will say there are other places in Canada where it doesn't get as cold and you can actually row all year round. But most of the country, yes, is frozen for 6 months. For winter programming, we spend a lot of time on the erg. So on the rowing machine, we then do a lot of strength training. So as I mentioned, keeping our back strong, core strong. We do that a lot in the winter. And then we also do things like cross-country ski or other sports in the winter to stay active, which is important too. And then sometimes we will go to where it is warmer in Canada and do training camps. And then sometimes we would also go to the States and do some training camps in the US where it's warmer, in Arizona, as an example. So, but most of the time we're indoors, we're on rowing machines, and we're building up a lot of our strength and power so that in the 6 months that we're on the water, we really focus on technique and moving the boat. So we do lots of the building in those 6 months.
Yeah, I talked to an Olympic rower from Brazil, 1984. He was at the final two the pair with coxed pair. At the time there was that boat still, and they were talking, I think, to Thomas Keller, the famous Thomas Keller, and the coach from Brazil wasn't a very. He didn't have many study. He didn't study. He was a good rower when he was young, and then he became a coach and kept doing what he learned on practice. And then he said to Thomas Keller that we do many hours of rowing, then we have many hours of running and many hours lifting weights and on gymnasium. And he said, why do you have to row, run, and do gym? No, we have, because on Europe everyone does that. Oh, and he said, on Europe we do that because we can't row on winter, and you shouldn't do that. You maybe a little bit running and lifting weights on gymnasium, but it's not necessary every day do that. And the guy said, but this is the way we do. I don't know if that was good to us or if it was a problem.
Oh, I think there has been. I mean, I'm not involved in any national team pieces, but I think it's important that, you know, if you can row a lot, but you should also be spending time, I think, building strength in the gym, lifting weights, because that is that's important too. So it's, and I think that's what they're thinking of as that well-rounded athlete. You know, you want to, if you overuse your muscles doing one thing, sometimes that can be quite hard on your body. So that's why there's that balance sometimes. We don't do a row and then a run and then a weights in one day. We switch them up. So in the winter, we might do an erg, and then we would do weights, and then maybe we would do a run. So you're switching. And so there's so much science in the physiology around building training programs to make fast athletes. And there's lots of studying. And that's where, as coaches, we need to keep up our education to make sure we know what we're doing.
Yeah. I think rowing is the most important thing, but we have to do some weights and run a little bit, because sometimes you have to change the muscles. You are always doing the same thing, row.
And just for mental too, right? It's nice to do something different and break things up more, because if you're always doing one thing over and over, that can be hard too. So even just for our mental sanity, changing up our training can be good.
Yeah, you are saying something. There's a friend of mine, we used to row together on a Calculus 4. And for me, the hardest part was the psychological. You have to stay 1 hour focused, rowing 20 strokes per minute, pushing hard. And the same thing in pushing hard and 20 strokes per minute. There was times that I was rowing, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just pushing. I wasn't. I couldn't think anymore, and I think that's one big problem: the psychological training we have to do.
Yes, no, it's important.
There's also someone, I think he's from Brazil, from the name Lima, Jean, and he would like to know what the age the athletes start rowing in Canada, and how is the beginning, if there is a limit, low limits, or no.
So it's really different in Canada. in my program, the youngest we usually get athletes to start is 12. Usually, though, they start a bit older. So in what we have for high school, so 15, 16, 17 is most of the time when an athlete will start. Some of them do start younger, but I would say most start between 15 and 17. However, we also have lots of athletes start when they're maybe 18, 19, 20. In Canada, we call this a late entry sport, which means that, you know, you're not starting when you're 6 years old, when you're quite small. And so with that, you know, usually people are a little bigger, a little taller. You know, the boats, they're quite heavy for you know, young people. And that's kind of, you know, we just want to make sure that they're, you know, can fit in the boats that we have. So that's I would say usually when they start. But the ones that start later, 18, 19, they may be in university already. So we call this novice programs, which means they haven't come from the sport before to university. And we've actually, and part of that is, let's say they were a basketball player, but they were never going to make a, you know, university basketball team, but they're strong, they're tall, they're athletic. They might want to join rowing. Sometimes they're from a small town that never had a rowing club, and they come to university and now there's rowing, and they might have played lots of sports in high school but never knew how to row. So we've actually had quite successful athletes then go to the Olympics in Canada who started rowing in a novice program in university. So yeah, so we have that too, but most, I would say, do start, we'll call it around maybe 16. That's the average age, I would say.
That's another question. You have the college program very high in Canada. This is one thing we don't have here in Brazil.
Yeah.
It's I was talking this week with someone like on United States as well. If you want to go to college, you have to practice some sport, and you have to be good on both things.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be a good athlete if you are not a good student.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I think it's a big difference that we should have here in Brazil. We have to get more people on college studying, improving their career, because as an athlete, you don't have all your life to practice a sport as a high levels athlete. How does that work on Canada, and how can you support all the athletes that go on college training?
Yeah, a huge part of it is the funding in universities for sports. There's a lot of there's, you know, the universities then have funding for varsity, what we call varsity sports teams. That's a huge part of it. So you can get scholarships. It's different. The States has its whole own system of college sports, which is very different than Canada. But we still have, like, programs got set up when universities, you know, I'm assuming, I don't know the whole history, were established, sports were part of that. So when, you know, you would start a university, there would be sports teams with your university. And it's just kind of, it's so much history there and built already. So with the funding then that comes through into universities to then build sports teams, like I was a varsity athlete. I rowed for the University of Victoria, and I got scholarships to go and be an athlete and also a student. I got to compete at some amazing competitions as an athlete, and while I was pursuing my studies. So I think it's an incredible opportunity that we have for, you know, you to continue doing sport and then study as well for your career.
Yeah, I think there's I don't know how we could improve that here in Brazil. It's very difficult because you have to have lots of money and funds, and I don't know how we could do this here. But
Yeah.
maybe we can learn how to make money as Canada does.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic for other. I don't know enough about that, but no, it is important, and we're very lucky as well that we have for our high performance sport, government funding to support that, even within the province. So, I live in Calgary in the province of Alberta, and our provincial government for provincial sport gives us funding to then support the growth of sport in the province. And then we can compete, in between provinces on other competitions. But we do have our government supporting sport in this country, which is amazing.
Yeah, about competitions. You have the Canadian Henley Regatta.
Yes, that is a very big one here.
It's a big event, isn't it?
Yes, it is very big. So it's in St. Catharines, Ontario in August every year, except for COVID years. And it's almost every club in Canada comes, and then we also have lots of clubs from America that come and compete. We've had competitors from South Africa, from England, from Argentina, come and compete at Canadian Henley. So it is an international event, and very top tier athletes go. You don't usually go if you're just learning to row. You go when you can go and compete at that level.
Yeah, I've talked to two guys. They were scullers, one from Brazil and a lightweight sculler, and he did. It was a very big project to him about money, how to, and he traveled all by himself alone.
Wow.
He didn't have a coach. He didn't have anyone. We talked on Portuguese, so you won't understand what we talk. But he had many problems. He had a kidney problem before rowing there. It's like Odyssey. It was a very a good story to know about. And the other guy was from Argentina, and he said he didn't go to Olympic, but he was Pan American champion about 4 times.
Wow.
And he said that one part of the program, of the training program, was to compete on Henley, on the Canadian Henley Regatta. And he said a very tough competition.
Yes, yeah. I love that regatta. It is such it's unique, it's fun, but that is our big one for Canada in the summer.
My friend asked before, how many clubs there are on Canada, rowing clubs?
Oh my gosh.
About 20, 30, 40.
Here, let me see. I know in Alberta, so the province where I live, and it's not a big rowing province. Like we don't have, there's not a lot of small clubs. We have 6 clubs in our province, but in, for example, British Columbia, there's probably at least a dozen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Oh my gosh.
All right.
9, 10. There's a lot. Actually, you know what you can do? If he's interested, you can go to rowingcanada.com or org, and you can actually go, and they have all of the clubs in Canada listed.
All right.
So I'm sure there's like at least 100.
Yes. All right. Just
no, it's a good question. I don't know, but there's lots.
All right. I would like to say hi to my mom, which is watching us. I suppose she still understands English, and she's a very funny person. I like her much. I miss her a lot because of COVID. I can't visit her. Like 1 year, I don't hug her.
I know.
Mom, kisses. Yeah, let's get back of rowing programs, and there was something else I would like to ask you, but I forgot. And do you have any curiosity you would like to tell us about your coaching time and some competition or something that happened that you didn't want to and happened?
Well, the one thing is, as every rower has to deal with, is weather, right? We're an outside sport, so we don't get to play in an arena. We have to deal with weather. And I know from, watching the Olympics in Rio, there was some tough wind watching that for the Olympics. But we actually had, so at Henley, there is always a thunderstorm at least one time at Henley. It just happens. It gets so hot in that area that then when it gets that hot, storm clouds come in, and usually we get thunder and lightning, and the regatta has to pause because you can't go on water with lightning. So, but in Henley 2019, so I've gone to Henley as an athlete and coach, 10 times maybe. I have never seen that much rain that it actually, so where all of the boats were with all the trailers, where everybody keeps their boats during competition, it flooded. Like there was water up to my knees. The rain came so fast and so much that they just couldn't drain. And that was one of the first times Henley. So Henley is known, I should say, for being on schedule. It is not a regatta that ever gets delayed. You are on schedule. If you miss a race, too bad. So with all of this rain, they had to postpone races from one day to the next. They had to cancel some days. And so they had to change all this timetable. It was one of the things as a coach, then you have to figure out with your athletes, you're going, okay, so this day got canceled because of the weather. So now we have to have more races on this day. And then you're trying to work with your athletes because you have finals and some are racing heats. So that was a really challenging few days when we just had to reshuffle everything because of rain and so much rain. That was probably one of the craziest weather regattas I've ever been to.
And Henley is the regatta is on a river, or?
Yeah, yes, it's kind of a weird setup. There's a river that leads into a lake, into Lake Ontario, but where it is, it's very calm. So it is still a river, but it doesn't flow fast. So, you think river water is always moving. It moves, but not very fast because there's a dam and it's just where it's situated. So, it's on a very calm part of a river.
All right. There are many people saying boa noite, good evening for us, and it's Portuguese, and I can't talk in Portuguese to you because we respect of our host. No, not host. Our I forgot the word.
Oh, guest?
Our guest. Yeah. And
I'm sorry. I know no Portuguese.
No, it's all right. And I think it's a very good talk to you, Alex, because you are very young and you are also very adult. You have so many experience and you are very kind. It's very good to talk to you. And we expect that this COVID stuff goes away very fast, so the regattas can go back. and I would like very much to go to Canada. I was once in Canada in 1979, and my mother is saying that you are very cute. She's so cute. And we didn't have we were on April. It was Eastern time, but it was very cold at that time.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have we had a problem on our car. We couldn't go further than Toronto. But I like very much Canada. I think it's a great country. The people there is very polite and very kind. I met some Canadian people in other places, and it will be a great time, I think, to go to Canada. Visit my friend that lives at Calgary, and maybe we put him on a boat as well as his son.
Mm-hmm. Well, when we don't have COVID, we would have just a club event, and it was just competition between club members. But we'd have a parent-child event, so parents could come and row with their kids, even if they've never tried rowing before. So it's a really fun. We have a barbecue. It's a big celebration. It's a fun day. So I know we're all, as I'm sure everyone is, looking forward to not having COVID and being able to, spend time with our friends and our club and our, teammates. Because we all, I know for me and my athletes, we miss training and seeing each other. But we were lucky this summer with COVID that we could actually train pretty much all summer and be in boats, and with the rules that we had, we could do that. So that was very nice.
All right. Well, Alex, I think we have talked lots of things. We could learn a little bit about the programs on Canada, and I would like to say thank you to your club, so you could talk to us and teach a little bit, and say thanks to my friend Marionir, and so he put us together talking.
Mm-hmm.
And you are invited to come to Brazil. There are many clubs here. It's a very big country.
Yes.
Like
Canada, it's big.
Yeah.
It takes forever to fly anywhere here.
Yes, it's a very big country. Mm. And we hope that as soon as possible we can be together, meet everyone. And this is, I think it's up to you now to say what the final words to say to people here.
Well, thank you, I will say, for inviting me. This has been great to connect. The wonderful thing about sport is that it connects us from all over the world, as we are, connecting tonight. This sport is amazing. It has given me so much joy in my life, which is, as an athlete, which is part of why I wanted to get into coaching, to give that back to new rowers. So if there's, people that want to start coaching after they're, done rowing, it's a wonderful, job, a wonderful way to stay involved. But I love this sport so much. I love how it connects everyone. And hopefully there'll be a time, yes, when we can, travel again and maybe meet on some regatta sometime soon. So thank you for having me and inviting me to chat.
All right. Great. Goodbye. See you soon.
Goodbye.